Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Jade from the Right Mind Podcast. This is episode 174, I believe, if I am counting correctly. Please fact check me if I am wrong, but it's okay. If I made a mistake, I'm here, we're here. So, I am reconnecting with a teen who is now in college. I can't believe it, going into her junior year. And we are just having an amazing conversation. We're catching up on a lot of different things. But I really hope that you guys enjoy this conversation that we're about to have. Just being able to navigate being a believer, being a follower of Christ in the college lifestyle, which can definitely be challenging. It can definitely be conflicting with just, what we believe in and the things that surround us. I just pray that you guys just kind of give us some grace through our technical difficulties. But I really hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Peace. God bless to you all. Make sure you follow us, rightmindpodcast.com, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, Right Mind Podcast. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is the Right Mind Podcast. What's up?
You can never tell me. You can never tell me. I won't rise.
Here.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, but thank you for, I know we've been, I don't know, thank you for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, of course. I got the text message and I was like, what do I have going on Wednesday? Oh, nothing. I'm on spring break. I get to chill out. So of
Oh, even
course.
better.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm thrown off because your spring break is so much earlier than normal. I think.
Yeah, everyone's is next week and I
Mm,
get back next week. And
mm,
then my midterm is like the 13th and I get back like the 12th or something. So
gotcha.
highly unfortunate, but thankfully the break came when it did because I had like three midterms the week prior and I was like,
Mm.
get me out of here. I was like looking at my roommates and I was like, so but anyway.
Bye.
Yeah, they were like I it was funny. I one of my roommates, she woke me up at 6:45. She was banging on my door and I thought she was my alarm and I was like, hello? Because I didn't have to get up that day. And she was like,
Mm.
my Uber's not coming and the bus for my rowing team's expo leaves in 5 minutes. Are you willing to take me? And I just looked at her and I was like, I wasn't even wearing pants. I was like, I was like, hello? And then she was like, can you? I'll give you money. And I was like, let me grab my shoes. It's fine. So I dropped her off and then I came back and I slept for like 5 more hours because I was so done. My usual wake up is like 2 p.m. I'm so lazy.
Oh,
It's
jeez.
terrible. I need to get better
Must be
about it.
nice.
Right? My first class doesn't start
Jeez.
until 2:30 sometimes.
Must be nice. Look at you living the dream over there.
Right. If I was living the dream, I wouldn't be transferring, but yeah,
Yeah,
for
that's true.
sure. But
Dang.
in terms of school, it's good because my first class doesn't start until like 10 usually most days.
Mm.
But on Tuesdays, I don't have anything until 2:30, which is nice because I recently just joined a early reading intervention initiative in like a local IPSI school. Because
Mm.
I'll be honest, I'm a Michigan student, but I am never in Ann Arbor. I am always in like this surrounding town called IPSI,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot of need there. There's just a lot of like poverty. There's a lot of violence.
Mm.
There's just a lot of like there's a lot there's they need a lot more support. And so I'm usually spending my time in coffee shops there. I'm usually
Nice.
helping out at the churches there. So I'm part of an
Amen.
initiative, and I recently just before I left for break, I was talking to a girl who runs the program, and she wants me to come in and shadow her and like develop a relationship with some of the elementary school kids that I plan on helping, and then providing that extra level of support that they need in that low income elementary school because some of these students, they're good kids, they just can't like no one has sat down with them and like showed them how to read and how to do
Mm.
certain math problems, and teachers can only go by the median, so they have to just keep working up while some students are left behind. So basically my job with them is volunteering to like on my off days and stuff to come and help them get caught up to speed with the rest of the class.
Oh, look at you. Look at you still doing big things.
I enjoy it. Honestly, I don't think that Ann Arbor has tons of need. A lot of students keep their focuses on campus and keep a lot of their initiatives based in the area. And I thankfully have a car that
Hmm,
I can go and be in other places. So that's kind of my reason for it is I have the time, I have the resources, transportation's not an issue, so there's really no excuse.
nice. So you
Yeah.
got the car this time, because I remember, I think it was last year, you didn't have the car, and you were
Yes,
just
I
like
was I was like just
hoofing
freeballing
it
it. I was
everywhere.
like, "Hello." Yes, I was getting like almost 25K steps a day. I was miserable. The I was keeping my car like 30 minutes off base at my grandparents' house, so that was a lot of
Mm,
fun. But yeah, this year I just bit the bullet and I'm paying for it to be
mm,
at my apartment so that I can go and do my thing. I'm never studying on campus. I always go to a coffee shop off campus. I'm grocery shopping and taking people places. And for my job, it's
mm.
helpful too because my job is all the way on the other side of campus, and by foot, that is 35 minutes. So that is a walk. That is a not a hop, skip, and a jump. It is definitely
For sure.
yeah.
Not
You
with your
should
knees.
no. But however, I am doing a lot better. I'm working out
Yeah,
consistently, at least. I
nice.
also am not on campus for that. I decided I was just gonna go get my Planet Fitness membership and thug it out
There
with
you
the
go.
locals because I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and vie for the chest press machine with all
That's
these
fair.
biathletes, whatever, like these dual athletes that they have all their
Hmm.
crazy workouts and they're sitting around the bench machine for like 100 years.
Ever.
So I'm like, guys, I'm literally on a crunch. So I decided to just go and get my membership. So I always drive myself to the gym as well. So thankfully, having that space, I've also just been able to prioritize my physical health as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the bench is it's weird that they don't have their own facilities for the
They,
athletes at
yeah,
least.
they do, but as a student, you usually don't have enough time, and most students don't have cars, so they just go to the
Yeah,
what they call the intramural building, which is basically just this big
true.
gym for
Yeah.
all the students, and then they're currently constructing one closer to where I live currently, and
Hmm.
that one is probably not going to be finished until I don't know. My grandkids apply to Michigan. Like
Yeah.
I don't know when they plan on finishing that. So, and then they have a temporary gym and it's like the size of like a living room and then everyone and their mom is there. So, I
Mm.
just try and,
It's
avoid
like
all the
the
chaos.
it's like the one, I don't know if you remember UNH when we went and they
Yes,
took us
yes,
to that
exactly
other.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yep, that and then also I just don't understand how you have 65,000 students and you have two physical fitness facilities. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
how they do it. Obviously, the numbers don't match up, but you know,
Yeah, for sure.
you just have to make sure you're going at 1 in the morning, and then maybe you'll get in and work out.
Right. Yeah, when I was at UMass Lowell, I mean, I was on a sports team, so we had our own. I think we were the only ones. We used it. I think the soccer team kind of, the field hockey team kind of, hockey team, they had their own facility because it was over at Songus Center. I think the
Oh,
basketball team might have came in and used it too, but like
mm,
all our practices were all at different times, so it was like you weren't
remind me,
really.
what sport was it?
I did track.
Track. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I didn't. Did you tell me that? Have you ever mentioned that? I
Um,
feel like you haven't. I
I
feel
don't
like I
know.
never knew that you did that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of
did
fun.
track.
Still
Yeah.
learning things. I did pole vault for one semester, and then I was like, not doing
Pole
that
vault's
anymore.
scary. I'm all
Pole
set with pole
vault
vault.
as somebody that's 5 foot and I was like 120 pounds and I had this old guy chanting in my ear telling me it's all physics. and I hadn't taken physics yet. I was like, dude, you're gonna get us killed. And so
He
I would
said
just
it's all
laugh.
physics.
It's all in the wrist. I'm like, you don't have any kind of muscle on you. I don't know. I don't know. He was probably like long-term champion for the sport, but
Yeah.
I was like my first time in track, and they were like, flip over this bar. I was like, no. And then they threw me in the 800, and he was like,
Ugh.
oh, you did it in under 5 minutes. The PR for that, I'm pretty sure, is like a minute. I had like 4. I was like, okay. So I quit that. And then I was just training with the volleyball team for funsies. And then obviously I did soccer. So I did soccer up until I was a junior. And then that kind of, there you are. You're back.
Ugh, I am
Hello.
ordering. I am ordering a booster for this basement, man.
Where are you sitting? Are you in is it like basically a dead zone in the
So,
basement?
like, realistically, like right above me is where the Wi-Fi router is.
Oh, so
But
do you
it
not have any amplifiers downstairs for that so it
no,
doesn't pull any of the internet down?
no.
Dang. Yeah.
So I'm
Get one of
ordering
those
one.
like little Wi-Fi things. I'm pretty sure they're super cheap. I just recently got one. We set up our router in our apartment because we had originally been paying for a whole new system, and they were like, "No, it's included in your lease." And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna kill all of you because you didn't tell me about that."
Right.
And I was just paying $50 a month for it. So
Hmm.
they my uncle came in and helped me out with that because that's basically what he does. So thankfully, I've got
Nice.
family locally for all kinds of
There
help,
you go.
which is nice. Another reason why it made it really hard to make the decision to leave was because I love the fact that I've been able to develop my relationship and my friendships and everything as much as I have with my family because as a
Right.
military kid, you spend so much of your time not being home surrounded by
Right.
family that it
Right.
makes it really, really hard to come home and be like, "Hey, I know I haven't been around for the last 12 years, but how's it going?"
Yeah.
And yeah, like I haven't seen any of my cousins. I sometimes don't get to see my grandparents half as often, but being home and living in Michigan, like I've got family stopping by and being like, "Hey, let's go here." But the weekend prior to coming home, I went on a ski trip with my grandpa, and
Mm.
we never get to do that. I mean, if I had been living anywhere else, that would have been he wouldn't have even asked. So
Right. Right. Right.
thankfully being home has allowed me to just know my family members on a deeper level, spend quality time with them, celebrate stuff. My aunt is getting married
Right.
in
Oh,
May. Yeah, they got their new house together, and then they're getting married in May, and I'm a bridesmaid, so
there you go.
I'm super excited for her, but being
Nice.
home has been able to help me. Like, I've been able to see like all these changes going on in my
Hmm.
family, and it's given me a deeper appreciation for them, for
Oh,
sure.
big facts. Big facts. Yeah. Like when I first found out about my family, I was taking trips left and right to go visit them, whether it was Washington State, Texas, and just being, I mean, I was there for like like a week at a time, but like even just like having that and just spending time with them and just getting to know them was like it was just super comforting and just not feeling like I'm missing out on life in
Yeah, I
their
have like
lives.
weirdly FOMO with family and
Yeah.
never with friends. It's so odd.
Hmm.
Everyone's always like, "Oh, I went to this thing and we had so much fun and I went out and yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And then my family's like, "Oh yeah, we went and we ate at your favorite restaurant." And I'm like, I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Like what the heck? Where's my
So I'm
invite?
like, guys, these are the things I get stressed out about. But I'm sorry I
Yeah.
cut you off. Finish what you were
No,
saying.
you're good. No, you're good. Yeah, it was just like I don't know. I mean, I had already felt like I had missed out on so many years because I mean, up until I was probably, I don't know, like 20 years old, I thought I was the only one. And then my dad was like, "Yeah, you have brothers, you have sisters, you have nieces, you have nephews, you have great nieces and nephews." Like,
I can't imagine how disorienting that would have must have felt. What must have
yeah,
been. I mean,
yeah. I mean, my brother, I mean, at the time, I think he had 5 kids. When I first met one of my brothers, he had 5 kids. He has 8 now. But
Wow.
yeah, but yeah, but just like in that, I was like, the amount that my family has expanded was crazy because I only had my mom's side,
Hmm.
and I mean, like I would chill, like I wouldn't really like hang out with my cousins. It was more holiday time. Those were when we would actually just kind of do stuff. But it was like
Yeah.
everybody was together. It wasn't like, hey, like you want to go to the movies and do
It
something?
wasn't a casual kind of familial relationship. I understand what you're saying. I know a lot of people that like one of their best friends is their cousin, and I didn't have that either. That person for me was Avery. Are you back? There you are. That was
I
longer
have
than last time.
I have never had this much connection issues down here than today.
It might just be because I'm tuning in from like really far away, and then also, is it bad weather outside right now or no?
No, it was actually 50 today, which is crazy for right now.
That's nice. Hello. It
I've-
was like in Michigan, it's really gloomy and it's cold, but surprisingly in Nebraska, it's been cloudy and dark, but it hasn't been freezing, if you know what I'm
mm,
saying. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's been more cloudy and like humid, which is weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Nebraska summer, the humidity here is the index I think is usually sitting at like 90%, and that
Mm,
is it's horrible. You just don't bother taking a shower. Just be gross the whole time. Me and my
yeah,
sister moved
sounds
here
about
and then
right.
we were like gross. So, basically, but we have a good
Yeah.
time. She's currently upstairs. I think she's got some tests or something or an essay she failed to
Mm.
start, so she's writing her way into oblivion
Yeah.
upstairs, and then the dogs, if you can hear in the background noise, they're running around in circles upstairs. They tore into their
Yeah.
toy and ripped out the squeaker like a bunch of savages. And I was like, dude, I was like, this is why we
Sounds
can't
like
have
my
nice
old
things.
dog.
That's why we can't have nice things. They were literally so
Yeah.
aggravated.
Sounds like my old dog. I used to have a husky, and he would literally like 5 minutes into having a toy,
Aw,
he would tear it up. I'm like, dude, like I just bought this. Like
dude,
what the
yeah.
hell?
You're like, we can't have, like, we can't do this. Like, the way that he tore at it and then, like, gutted it and then tore the squeaker out and then ran around with the squeaker. I was like, really? Because, like,
He's just like, "Oink, wink, wink,
it
wink,
literally
wink,
looked like he was like,
wink."
mink, mink, mink. He literally, like, blew it up. It was like stuffing was everywhere upstairs. And I was like, guys, I'm overstimulated. I'm leaving. And then I
Mm.
went and got my nails done instead because I was like, guys,
Need some
God.
therapy.
Yeah, I need something because
Get me out.
yeah, literally, I was feeling claustrophobic. I was sitting here watching them destroy things. My mom's yelling at her computer. My dad's walking around. Just, it's funny. They're funny. I love
Yeah.
them. But I'm glad to be home at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Small blessings. Me and Avery we did what is it? A Bible study last night. We were in, how do you
Amen.
say it? Ecclesiastes? Is that how you say it?
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got it.
Ecclesiastes. We were in
Ecclesiastes is interesting.
chapter 5. We were in chapter
Chapter 5.
5, which was talking about let me see. My Bible's
I know, I'm
upstairs.
about to pull it up too. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, honestly,
Uh,
I did 7, I did 9. I need to be better about reading through versus picking and choosing which ones I want to read. But because
mm.
it's all like one singular story, and you just like are jumping into random parts of the story when you do that. But I do like
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
because it was talking a lot about um, how people that prioritize wealth and putting all your emphasis into what you do instead of how you do it is
Hmm.
never like it's never the goal because it's never something that you can take with you into heaven. And if
Yeah,
you truly believe that you are going to heaven, that'll change your perspective on where you place your effort, your time, your money, your resources, and everything, right?
right.
And so we
Mhm.
were reading about it because I think so often, and this is something I still need to work on, is I need to forgive people in my heart. Like truly, instead of just saying like I forgive you or I'm
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
longer
Mhm.
upset with that person,
Mhm.
that I still think about them, and it's never in a way that I want to think about them because of how they treated me or what they did or who I assume that they are because they've done that
Mhm.
thing. And so I read
Yeah.
that verse and I'm automatically, or that chapter, and I'm automatically thinking to myself, like, I can't take this grudge with me into heaven. So
Yeah.
why do I make this a priority to have?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's just been one of my big things too. And we went to church this past weekend, and trying to remember, I like passed out once or twice. That was my bad. But we were talking about, I think we were talking about bringing the word. And a huge thing that I do want to talk about in terms of college life
Let's
and
do it.
talking about bringing the word to people of every background,
Yep.
especially on a college campus like Michigan, where there's not really tons of Jesus going on, especially when there's not tons of religion going on. Like, yes, you
Mhm.
will see on their sites, like, yes, they do provide opportunities, they do provide spaces for Catholics, they provide spaces for Christians, they provide that is true,
Mhm.
but generally on the street, you will not, most people are not necessarily displaying um, that they follow any kind of religion. And most people you talk to have a lot
Yep.
of religious trauma. I mean, one of my best friends, I love her to pieces. She has not picked up her Bible in a while and she doesn't believe in that. And she's a
Mhm.
brilliant girl. I mean, she's doing biomedical engineering for University of Michigan, so she's brilliant, but
Mhm.
it's just not one of those things that she occupies her time with. And I completely understand where she's coming from. I mean, I know her on a deeper level. I know that there are things about her history and her life that have led her to feel that way. And
For sure.
the one thing I can always say is like, it's not God, it's his people.
Yeah.
And
That's
so I'm
true.
sorry that that happened. There's nothing that you can do to change that. But I think a big part of that is also, as somebody that's a Christian, talking to people in a way that makes the word applicable to people from any background. So
Mhm.
there, it's one thing to talk to somebody about Christ and kind of it feels like you're talking about it, you're using language in a way that makes it feel like you're forcing it onto them. And then
Mhm.
there's another
Yeah.
way, which is a way that I've definitely had to change my perspective and learn how to use certain language and learn how to use um imagery and basically tailor it to how this person needs
Mhm.
it to be spoken to them about it. And
Yeah.
so I talked to like so as as an example, my best friend, I love her to pieces. She's recently been interested in it. Like she said, "Oh, I haven't really been in my Bible recently, but I I don't think that there's anything wrong with reading the book. Like I honestly there's a lot of lore, there's a lot of drama in the Bible and I love a good gossip. So and I said, "Yes, absolutely. Have you ever read this passage? Oh my goodness. He had two wives and he was mixing them up and it was crazy and he tried to split a baby in half." And I was like, "Dude, we have to just sit
Mhm.
down and read it." And you know what?
Look at David.
She was way more receptive to me treating it like a conversation versus treating it like an intervention. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times the word is brought to people via an intervention. They feel like the person that they're
Yeah.
talking to is just doing it to save their soul, even if it's coming from a good place that you do want to see that person in heaven. But also, people
Mhm.
aren't going to be receptive to that, especially like this is another big thing I hear is like when someone's going through it, like going through it, and then somebody's like, oh, but you know, let's give God thanks or something like that. And yes, that is absolutely true. Thank God through everything, the good and the bad.
For
But
sure.
especially when it comes to somebody that is not really actively practicing their faith in that way, that kind
Yeah.
of message is basically pointless for that person. And so how do you reach that person at the place that they're at, especially in that way with the word? And not just that, but like also it doesn't always have to be Christ centered. It can always just be an encouragement. Like, I am
Mhm.
glad that God has put me in your path, and I'm so glad that I got to meet you. And I encourage you to just continue to be here and just, I'm so glad that you're alive. Like, I'm glad that you chose to be alive. I'm glad that you chose to
Mhm.
do X, Y, and Z. And it doesn't always have to come from a place of, oh, well, I'll pray for you and I hope that you get better and I hope that you stop, you know, you pick up your Bible and I hope that you, it's like a projection basically at that point.
Yeah.
And so, especially on a college campus, learning how to navigate that, because I've been exposed to several different groups. I've tried Crew. I tried something called University Christian Organization, tried that as well.
Mm.
And then I'm now landed in something called Salt Company. And Salt Company is like a huge Christian organization that is just focused on just bringing the word to college kids in a way that's applicable to their lives and also forming deep connections with one another. And they have a national conference every year, so it's kind of like BGCA, and it's kind of nice in that way
Yeah.
where we just have a space to go to, and it's a lot of fun. And so I'm part of that currently at Michigan, and I love it. I mean, they give a chance for um, students to congregate in smaller groups. So I have a connection group that I'm part of every Wednesday evening, and I get to
Mhm.
spend it with some girls that are just, they're just good people. And so
Yeah.
that's nice, but also that is a part of my journey. That's not really everybody's journey. And so I do my best to try and, like, yeah, I know God has asked us to evangelize and to bring the good news to people and make disciples out of the nations, but, and I'll be honest, college is one of the hardest places to do that because you do have all these organizations, but not everybody is using a an interpretation of the word in a way that represents who Christ actually is.
Yeah. 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 I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's funny too because as I was driving over here, that was actually. I mean, so when we do these podcasts, I
Mhm.
really don't have. I really don't have any sort of direction
Mhm.
when talk. It's more of us just trying to have a conversation, just like
Yeah.
we are right now,
Mhm.
right? And so, but the thought that had came come across my mind was asking like, so as a believer, like how has it been trying to navigate, especially in a secular world, in kind of following your faith, right? Which
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of just took it took it away, which was perfect, and it's like I know that's God as well too, of just like you thought it. You wanted to talk about me, so here we go. So
It's a
here we are.
huge, yeah, it's a huge, I mean, it's a big part of my identity is somebody that
Yeah.
follows Christ, is somebody that tries to follow Christ in the ways that I think I should be following him, and also in the ways that he's asked me to follow him and pick up my cross every
Hmm.
day. And so
Hmm.
navigating that on a college campus where everybody is just trying to run away from their problems at the bottom of a bottle or
Hmm.
in intravenous drugs and crazy business, crazy,
Yeah.
crazy business. I definitely kind of at some points feel incredibly ostracized. And that's kind of when I feel like the devil definitely picks up on that. And he's like, ooh, I could use this. I could use this FOMO, or I could use this isolation, or I could use
Yeah.
this feeling of not belonging on this campus and try and convince me that the world has something that I could offer, that is something that is attractive and something that I might want.
Yeah.
Even I don't think that there's at any point anything the world could offer me that I would want. So, and I
Hundred
know that.
percent.
Yeah, and I know that because every time I start falling off, I lose my momentum. I lose that drive to like be in my word all the time and go to church consistently and love others unconditionally and speak kindly. And every time I start straying away from that, I notice life, like the things that are usually very easy
Yep.
to manage, instantly becomes so much harder. Like, it's funny. I was like, wow, um I really haven't been in my word. I really haven't It's been a minute since I picked up my Bible. It's been a minute since I called my family and said I love them. It's been a minute since I went to church on purpose and not because I knew somebody else I knew was going and that kind of thing. And so instantly I started realizing, wow, I'm like getting sick really often. And wow, like the miniature things on the outside of my academic life are getting a lot harder to manage. And so it's definitely been eye-opening, I guess, in the sense.
There we
You're
go.
back. Now I'm on
You
the
know,
left. We changed spaces.
what's funny too is I was literally like just before it clicked on, glory to God, I was literally rebuking the devil for interrupting this conversation, and then literally it
It's
was like, bloop, then I was like, yeah,
I know, I'm watching you. Yeah, he heard that. He heard that. He took that as an absolute challenge. Yeah,
mhm,
so a big thing is like I notice as soon as I start falling away from those kinds of good habits that I make for myself that I challenge myself to keep, that
yeah,
the life part gets so much harder to deal with. Like I find myself getting sick. I find myself
yep,
like losing out on time. I find myself feeling a lot more depressed. I find myself just and I know these things and I know them to be true.
hmm,
And sometimes it takes a while to get back on the horse, but I know that as somebody that gave my life to Christ when I was
amen,
15, I know that no matter how many times I fall off that horse, that I'm always going to want that horse to be there and that I'm always going to get a chance to get back on.
100%,
So knowing those kinds of things keeps me kind of rooted in reality a lot of the time. And it has made going the process of navigating college, of navigating, oh, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to do X, Y, and Z when I do need it, and understanding that I can reach out for that has also it's made a lot of those processes a lot easier too.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, the that's definitely something that I struggle with because I find myself, I get caught up in the, I have music, I have a clothing line, I have
Hmm.
the podcast, and it's like I got to post for this, I got to put something together for this. I'm not doing this for this. And then it's like and then on the other side, like my Bible's still sitting there. I haven't read in a little bit. My prayers are mega short. I'm not really giving God the time. And then like I'm wondering why things are just falling apart.
Hmm.
But the way my brain justifies it, it's like if you get like partly it's like if you get this stuff done, then you can focus on God, when
Yeah.
it should be the other way around. Like if you just focus on God, all of this other stuff will get done. But it's like as human beings we're like, oh, like I gotta get, it's almost, but I'm prioritizing the wrong things at the end of the day. I'm
Yeah.
prioritizing the wrong things, and it's like it gets to be frustrating because it's the same thing with what you're saying. It's like I focus on those other things, but then nothing is successful, nothing's moving, I'm not getting ideas, I can't write, and I'm like, I don't get it, I don't understand. But then the minute I start getting back into the word and praying and praising and worshiping, then all of a sudden like I can write a song in 5 minutes and all these
Those
other, and I'm
things
like,
just fall in
you got to be
line.
kidding me. I'm like, you got to
Yeah.
be kidding me.
Your
And then I'm
ducks
just like,
fall
dude.
right in a row.
And then you're just like, dude, like just
Why do I
stick
do
with
this?
this. Like trust the process. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Uh-oh.
also I've had to learn to give myself grace and have had to learn
That
to
was the other
ask
thing.
God for grace as well when
Hmm.
I do fall off and when I do find myself prioritizing the things of this world. And I know fully well that if I just gave those stresses to God, that
Hmm.
those ducks would absolutely fall in a line for me and I wouldn't have to
Yeah.
manipulate them in any way. And I know these things and I know them in my heart, but you know what? It's kind of like when you go to therapy, you're automatically too violently self aware and you just have to say it out loud to somebody else and
Yep.
say, hey, I need you to
100%.
help me with this mess. And they're saying, you know what the mess is, you know what it looks like, you know how to fix it. Now it's just a
Yeah.
matter of actually making it happen.
Right.
So, yeah, a lot of times I also have to forgive myself and ask God for forgiveness because He knows that I don't want to feel that way. He knows that I don't want
Yeah.
to try and make everything happen upon my own accord. And I still find
Yep.
myself doing it all the time because I'm a college kid and because I have
Hmm.
no time. And my
Yep.
what time I do have is also incredibly limited. And so I always feel like it's up to me to get things done or else they won't happen. And so
Yep.
learning how to do that has been one of the hardest things ever. I still struggle with it. I'm probably going to struggle with it for a really long time. But I think the fact that I can acknowledge it now a young adult has helped me
For
feel a
sure.
little bit more in control of a lot of situations that I have absolutely no control of.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, like when it comes to grace, like, and because I've been taking some notes and just like reflecting on some of the stuff that you said, because I had like my own instance when it came to giving myself grace, especially and it related to the podcast, but it's also applicable to forgiveness, like you were talking about earlier, where it's like, oh, it's hard for, and I'm in the same boat because it's like people I see every day, and then you try to forgive, but then they do something else, and you're just like, it's really hard for me to do like the 77 times 7 and not keep record when it's literally every day.
Yeah, it's
And
really hard for you to forgive truly in your heart when you see no change in behavior. Absolutely. I
mhm.
mean,
and but it's like, and again, it was the same thing with grace, because it was something that happened with the podcast, and I was getting like mega bent out of shape about it, and I was talking to my pastor, and he was like, if God gives you grace over all of the things that you do, I was like, why can't you give yourself grace? He was like, why can't you give yourself grace? So in like the same, in the same breath, it's like, if God can forgive you for all the dumb, stupid, foolish things that you do, why can't you give forgiveness to people for all the stupid, foolish, and crazy things that they do?
yeah, absolutely. I think
But it's tough. It's
yeah,
tough.
mine is always based in a lack of self-control. I feel like
Hmm.
mine is, I remember these things, and while I may not see that person because I don't entertain that person in my life anymore or something like
Yeah.
that, I
Hmm.
still find myself when I'm feeling sad thinking about it, and then it makes me even more sad. So it's almost like I keep it in the back of my mind as fuel for the fire when I'm like, I
Hmm.
need something. I need to feel something other than being upset over the
Yeah.
situation. So for me, it's kind of like I compartmentalize it in a way that I don't want to give up on this grudge yet because it's kind of giving me the fuel that I need in order to not feel that way about something in this moment. And I know
Yeah.
that's completely not healthy and that's not a healthy way to look at it, but it's also a very human way to look at it because a lot of
Yeah.
times people don't want to hold on to grudges unless you I don't know. I don't know of any instance that I would feel like, okay, I want to dedicate my time and my energy towards disliking this one singular person.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like something I do. It's not really part of my character. And so
Same.
I know these things and I still struggle with it. So
Hmm.
that's
Oh, for sure.
kind of where I'm at with in terms of forgiving myself and also learning how to forgive other people in the process. Because I think once I learn to ask God for grace and receive it openly, that I'll realize and recognize how easy it is to give it as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of times I'm staunchy with it because I'm like, okay, this person hasn't done anything to me yet, so it's really easy to forgive this person for X, Y, and Z versus somebody that's proven to me time and time again that they should not necessarily have a 30-second chance, but
Yeah.
because of for health reasons and whatnot, for mental health reasons.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, God does the same for me. I mean, I've made countless mistakes. There's countless ways that I've probably disappointed him, and he's never
Amen
failed
to
to give
that.
me the grace that I absolutely don't deserve. So
Mm.
there you
Yes.
are.
I love
Perfect.
this. Love this.
Hello.
Um, hello. So I don't know how much you heard, but so yeah, so like Israel leaves Egypt. Trip takes 40 years. And if
When
you
it should have
recognize the
taken half the time because they kept sinning, God kept them out there,
it should have
right?
taken them like 3 weeks to a month to get there.
Really? Oh.
Hmm. Like if you look at just like if you look at like the map and like where the promised land is and stuff,
Hmm.
like it should have taken them like 3 weeks a month. It took them 40 years. because he had to clean them all out. But to get to my point, as far as like mercy and all the despicable things that we do, and God still allowing us to wake up every single day,
Mhm.
like you look at some of the people that were in Israel that did something wrong, and God literally just smited them and killed them in that moment.
Mhm.
And it's like we do stuff. It's like how much more mercy has God given us that he doesn't do that anymore. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
he even showed Israel grace and mercy by allowing them to live that extra 40 years. Because do you know the intention of the 40 years?
I thought it was to. I don't want to get this wrong, but I feel like it was because they kept sinning, and so God kept trying to see if they would change in order for them to be let into the promised land. And so he kept them out there because they kept doing the same things over and over and over again, and he just was trying to give them every, you know, possibility to kind of repent for that and to be allowed into the promised land. Because I remember, what did Moses even end up in the promised land?
So so to answer the first one, I'm looking for one thing really quick.
Mhm.
So so to answer the first part, the reason for the 40 years. So there was only two people. There was Joshua and there was Caleb, right? Who end up leading Israel into the promised land. The reason for the 40 years was because God was going to wipe out that generation of people because they kept sinning. He was like, when you guys enter the promised land, none of you will see it. I'm going to have you wander around until you're all dead, and there's a new generation that's going into the promised land, except for Joshua and Caleb.
Oh.
The reason for Joshua and Caleb, in part, was when they were looking at the promised land, they sent like 10 spies, I think. I could be incorrect on the number, but just for the sake of argument, we'll just say 10. But people fact check me, please. They sent 10 spies into the promised land, and when the 10 spies came back, they said, "Oh my gosh, there's giants, there's all these people, like we're going to lose." And but Caleb and Joshua were like, "No, we have God on our side. Like let's run for it. Like let's do it." But because all the other people were like, "No, like we're scared." It's like you're afraid of these giants, but like you have God. Like you've seen what God can do. He did all this stuff in Egypt. He's gotten you this far. Like anywhere he told you that he was giving you the promised land,
Mhm.
but yet you still doubt God. So that's why it's them too, right? And then for Moses, so there's one moment where the people are whining and pouting, which was mega frustrating as I was reading Exodus.
Mhm.
But I totally reflected on it because I was like, that's kind of me, where I'm like, God, forgive me, and then I end up going right back to what I was doing,
Yeah.
as is all of us. But they're whining and pouting. We want food. We want water. We're dying. We're hungry. We're thirsty. When they're really not. So Moses pleads to God and is like, hey, like, what do I do? These people are complaining. So God's like, strike the rock, and water will come from the rock. So Moses calmly goes over, strikes the rock, water comes from the rock. Everybody gets water. Later on, there's another moment where the people are trying to kill Moses. Like they've had enough. They're thirsty, they're complaining. So again, Moses clamors to God. He's like, God, like, what the heck do you want me to do? These people are just like belligerent, they're crazy, they're not listening, they're just complaining. Like you could tell he's frustrated.
Mhm.
So God's like, speak to the rock and water will come out. I will give you water. But in Moses' frustration, he strikes the rock. Water comes out, but because Moses disobeyed the command, he was like, because you disobeyed me, like you don't get to go into the promised land. So Moses never sees the. Let me correct that. He sees the promised land, but he never gets to enter. God takes him up to this really high mountain, and he's like, you can look out and see the promised land, but like you'll never get to enter. You'll never cross the River Jordan and get in there.
Huh.
And that's why Joshua leads them in. Because Aaron dies, I think Aaron dies before Moses, and then Moses dies after. Aaron, his brother.
Yeah, I need to go back and reread. I definitely must have. I skim over
Oh,
some of
excuse
it,
me.
and I take a lot from the New Testament, but I need to
For
get
sure.
back in my Old Testament for sure because the OT definitely has. There's a lot of parallels that you can connect to the New Testament, which I think makes the word so much better to receive because you can see like,
100%.
oh, this is God fulfilling his promise. This is yet another reason
Mm-hmm.
why his word is good and it's true because it never fails to be
Well,
completed
there's all
in
the
the end.
prophecies.
Yeah,
There's all
yeah,
the
the
prophecies,
prophecies.
and
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like you look at Jesus. Like I was just telling the kids this the other day. So I teach. I like once a month. I'll teach like kind of like Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I also do. It's basically like Boy Scouts, but it's for like church kids. Just to put it
Uh-huh.
simply, not to like downgrade it or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But so we were, and it was crazy because was this was it last Tuesday I had the Royal Rangers, so the boys,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking. I can't remember the initial thing that we were talking about, but what we the converse where we got in the conversation was how God had established something in the past with like Israel that set us up for something when Jesus came. So what I was telling them was God establishes the sacrificial system so that they can learn to appreciate the value of the sacrifice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through and then through that they get their forgiveness for their sins. They're appreciating the different feasts and the different blessings that they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I said, all right, so here is the point, because then Jesus comes and sacrifices himself as the offering, as the lamb, as the sacrificial lamb, and that's how, like, again, it's the same context, but it's just they had to understand the value of the sacrifice so that when Jesus came, they were like, "Oh, okay, we get it. Like I get why he did that and why he had to give himself up." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it provides the context for the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
The context which is greatly needed because a lot of times we're so prone to asking why, how, and not when and what. And so
Mm-hmm.
when the when and the what happens, everyone's automatically looking for what happened prior. And
Mm-hmm.
so the same thing can be said for the sacrifices that all the everything that came before that was absolutely necessary in order for it to be received as a whole and not just by like parts of groups of people.
Mm-hmm. Because Jesus was always the plan.
Hmm.
He was always going to come. It was just a matter of when, but God had to establish some things before, gives them the 10 commandments so that they have something to follow, and again, the sacrificial system so they can appreciate, like, understand what, like, the blood of the lamb does. It forgives you for your sins, so that when Jesus comes as the sacrificial lamb and dies on the cross for our sins, who also becomes the high priest, who the high priest in Israel's time was the only people that could offer sacrifices. So again, Jesus becomes the high priest and also sacrifices himself so that we could always be forgiven. I mean, with what I mean, not just like I can still do whatever I want. No, you
No.
you still have to you still have to try to walk correctly and all those other things. But we're covered. We don't have to do the sacrificial system anymore.
Hmm.
But there had to be some things in place prior to that in order to like truly appreciate it. So it's like sometimes like I watch like the Passion of the Christ or something, and I'll see like him dying on the cross. And I'm just like I really need this to like set into like my heart of just like what he did, because like sometimes it's kind of like that. I guess this is like the easiest way to explain it. It's like that distant relative that dies that you didn't really get to meet, so like it doesn't hit you as hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
like, dude, he was up there not only for the people that were there at that time, but for you, and before you even sinned, and he was already forgiving you. Like,
Mhm. The sheer
bro, you gotta
amount
let that
of,
sink in.
yeah, the amount of meaning that comes from that, I think it's just so, sometimes it doesn't even have words. Like, I like
Yeah.
that your analogy makes tons of sense, in the sense that like sometimes it feels a lot like it's completely unrelated to you, and like it's not something that you have to think about. It's not something, and you know what, we are absolutely privileged to not have to think about it this way. I mean,
Hmm.
imagine the people before Christ had come, who they were constantly hoping that their efforts weren't going to be in vain, that were constantly living every day
Hmm.
hoping that God would, slime them out for doing X, Y, and Z.
Literally,
And so,
literally.
and how blessed are we to be able to walk around freely and, you know, fall short of God's expectations and still be forgiven for that in full, and receive no catastrophic consequences in that way,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, especially in this country too. Like, I mean, you look at like Paul's time, where like you getting persecuted. Like
Yeah.
how blessed are we to be able to walk around our campus, walk around our school, walk around our youth center, be able to believe what we want to believe, commune with other churches, commune with the church and other believers, and not have to worry about, like legit persecution.
Hmm.
Not people unfollowing you on Facebook because you post about Christ, but like people literally like wanting to beat you up, like going to prison, like killings like we see in other countries. Like that alone is just a blessing in itself. And like a lot of times when I go to church, I'm just like thank you that I can do this, because I don't know how I would feel if I lived in a place where like I'm constantly looking over my shoulder,
Hmm.
wondering if I can like praise God safely.
Yeah. It would absolutely be a hidden part of your identity versus an outward
Hmm.
extension of your personality, for
Right,
sure. Yeah.
right.
I definitely wake up every day and I have to think about the fact that like Jesus lived such an uncomfortable life. And so
He
there's
was homeless.
absolute, yeah, yeah, he was homeless. He was persecuted. The world hated him first. And so there's
Hmm.
absolutely, what makes me any different? What makes me think that my life will not look the same,
Right.
right?
It was, yeah. It was interesting. I was listening to a preaching, and I hadn't really like ever thought about the timing of it. And then the more that they kept saying, I think I heard it like two times from two different places, and I was just like, that's really insane.
Hmm.
So you got to think. So they were talking about Christ getting nailed to the cross, and then him dying, right? But the way that it was, well, one, he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, then immediately gets brought in all these different trials, which were illegal, to being convicted, to getting nailed on the cross, to dying on the cross. He was awake the entire time.
Hmm.
So like he's got zero sleep, right? Zero sleep. And if I don't get sleep, like who knows what'll happen, right?
Me.
Right. But so and then somebody was like, because I had never really like looked into it, or maybe I had read it but just didn't like put two and two together because of the way that they say it. So to my point, Jesus gets nailed to the cross at like 9 in the morning. So like he's been up all night. He gets to the mount and is nailed to the cross by 9. He at 12 o'clock when the 12 o'clock 12 o'clock noon, the clouds come in and for that part, and then the world is kind of the area is dark, and then from 12 to 3, so he's on the cross for like 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours just hanging there, and he stayed the whole time. Like he could have got off. Like 6 hours just
I
not
also
hanging out.
read somewhere that when he
But
was carrying his cross up and that they had pushed the crown of thorns into his head and he was bleeding and he was broken and he had been beaten and everything, and somebody tried to offer him wine and something else. They wanted to do,
mm-hmm,
it was two different substances. I think in combination it would have made a kind of anesthetic topical agent. In their
mm-hmm,
time it would have numbed
yep,
some kind of pain, and he
yep,
completely refused it because he wanted that weight. He wanted to carry that
yeah,
pain, which was
yep,
way more significant than if he had just said, "Oh, put a little bit on me,"
mm-hmm,
or "Give that to me." He could have easily said, "No, I don't want to take this on," or "No, I want to
yeah,
make it as comfortable for myself as possible," and he didn't do any of that. And so we as people, like, I don't know why, but we're all naturally prone to thinking, okay, how can I make life as comfortable as possible?
yeah,
When that is the one thing that he didn't do, even on hours from his death.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's like when Peter cuts the guy's ear off. He's like, "Put your sword away. Like, I don't need this. Like, don't you think that I could have legions of angels like here in a second to like take care of me? Like, I've been telling you guys for like 3 years, like this is gonna happen. Maybe not the whole 3 years, but like he was preparing them, right?
Hmm.
It's like I've been preparing you guys for this moment for 3 years. Like, what are we doing? It's kind of like,
Hmm.
what are we doing?
Yeah. Hmm.
And then in the same breath, they're like, yeah, like we'll die with you. You know, we'll go where you go. He's like, are you sure about that? And then as and again another prophecy, it was like the sheep will scatter. Again, I'm paraphrasing the prophecy, but it's
Hmm.
like the sheep will scatter, and that's exactly what happened. Jesus was left alone, and all his disciples dipped out on him once he was captured.
Hmm.
And it's just like, man, but yeah, beaten, bruised, beat up, all the great excuses that he could have used to just be like, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah, he could have easily gotten out of that situation at any point in time because he
Because
had.
he thought about it.
Hmm.
He thought about it
Hmm.
because it says, Lord, if you can, like, take this cup from me. Like, he thought about it. He was like, if this doesn't have to happen, if there's another way that this could happen, like, please let it be. Because, like, I'm really stressed out right now.
Hmm.
But then, as we all should, but your will, not mine.
I also think a lot about the fact that not only was Jesus nailed on the cross, but the one time that they had heard him crying out in agony was when God left him.
Yeah.
I don't think that there was any other time that they mentioned that Jesus, he was in pain. Absolutely, he was in physical human pain, but he hadn't had such a, like, a raw reaction to anything other than when God had left him momentarily in
Mm-hmm.
order to place him at the right hand. And
Right.
I think about that often because it's like, in the same sentence, like, I do the same thing. I don't experience, like, sure, physical, emotional, mental pain. Yes, it's all very human. It's all part of part of, being a college kid, being a human being and everything. But
Mhm.
the times when I'm seriously in the most distress and when I truly have to turn around and call back out to God is when I don't feel him close,
Yeah.
when I don't feel like when I feel abandoned. And so I
Mhm.
think about that all the time because I'm like, wow, like he didn't really kind of have any reaction until the moment God had left him. And that, I don't know,
Mhm.
I kind of feel the same way in that. It's like I don't experience any kind of like, sure, like things plague me and stuff like that, and things absolutely do get under my skin and bother me for days, and I'll have very visceral reactions to things, but I don't think I experience quite as much discomfort as when I feel like I'm not, like when God is not near.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, hold on, I want to make sure I get the right person. But I'm pretty sure it was David. Whoops. It was David. I am typing. Come on. Hurry. Yeah, so it was David. So he was like, "You could take everything away from me, but don't take your presence from me." And it's like, and again, to go with your what you were saying with Jesus, for us, it's like that should be like our fear, right? It's like all these traumatic things can be happening in our life, but like the one thing that we should be afraid of is going through those things and not having God with us
Yeah. Mhm.
through all that. And like that's just something that literally just like kind of like popped in my head as you were talking and as we're just kind of talking about this. It's just like that should be our fear. It's like we can be beaten, we can be bruised, we can be persecuted and hated by people and disliked by people and deleted off of Facebook and all these other things and what
Yeah.
all these little petty things that we consider to just we just kind of amp up as far as being just difficulties in our life. And it's like, but man, if like God left you through all that, man, like you really have nothing else. Like
Yeah.
you lose the
Mhm.
presence of God. Like I can't imagine how Saul felt when before David becomes king and God takes his spirit from him and Saul's calling out to God and God's not answering. Like I can't imagine just the feeling of truly feeling alone and just not being in the presence of God. And it's like I can only imagine what that'll feel like, for people that end up in the lake of fire of literally eternity away from the presence of God.
Mhm.
Like just the sheer agony of all of that. And then for Jesus, it's like, you know, wearing in that moment, because people are like, well, if he's God, then if he's God, then how can God be away from him? Well, you got to think, God does not dwell where sin is, and Jesus literally in that moment bore the weight of sin of everybody
Mhm.
in that moment. So obviously, God's not going to be present, and that's why, again, quotes scripture like, God, why have you forsaken me? Like he was quoting scripture. And it's like, you know, I just, he did all of that and he didn't have to. Could have jumped off at any time.
Mhm.
It's just crazy, man. And it's like, I know that these things are like popping up in conversations that I've been having just for a reason to like really be like, I really need you to like appreciate who I am, meaning God, God saying this, like appreciate who I
Mhm.
am and the thing, and to really put a focus on the important things, like, like what you said earlier, at the top of this, like, the things that we can take into heaven, the things that we can't, it reminds
I think you froze. Mm-mm.
Reminded me of the
There you
rich
go.
man.
Hi.
Heyo. Yeah. Um. So yeah. So rich man asked Jesus to go back to what you're saying about taking things, what we could take into heaven, what we can
Mhm.
not take, and Jesus or the rich man asked him, he's like, hey, like, what do I got to do to get into heaven? He's like, do you know the law? He's like, yeah. He's like, I follow the law, I tithe, I do all the things, and Jesus is like, all right, cool. He's like, sell everything that you have, give it to the poor, and come and follow me.
Mhm.
And what does the Bible say? The Bible says that he left sad. There's no additional text on whether he actually did, but it's like eh, you can't take those riches in with you. But like if you're unwilling to let go of those things, one, that's your idol, and two, it's like I always think of it like I could let go of everything, and God will give me something way better than
Mhm.
everything that I just let go of. But it's like we don't necessarily know what that is in the moment, so we're like, but if I give God this iPad, like I'll be without an iPad. And God's like, bro, I have like 4 mega fast like laptops and computers for you. But because you won't let go of that darn iPad, like I'm not gonna give it to you.
Yeah, you'll also never know because you won't give him the
Hmm.
trust that he'll absolutely make it better.
Hmm.
So you don't
Or
know
just
that
a
he has
yeah.
those laptops.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
that's the
that's the
problem.
worst part is also not knowing.
Hmm.
The part that
Yeah.
you're concerned about is not knowing whether or not God will replace that thing instead of trusting that he absolutely is going to because he always does. And he's proven to us time and time again that he does.
Hmm.
And there is
Or
evidence in his word that he absolutely does. But you
oh
know
yeah,
what?
for
It's
sure.
kind of like you see something, you hear something, you have concrete evidence, and you still find it hard to truly believe that that thing is true.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
It's like the I forget which guy it was. He was talking to was it Jesus? I think he was talking to Jesus, and he's like, Lord, I believe, but like help my unbelief, because I think we all go through that. It's like I believe, but like there's still this like little part of me that is just like, can that happen? Can he do that?
Yeah.
Can it happen in my life? Because I see it in everybody else's, but like, can that happen in my life? Like, what about me?
Yeah, I make it hard. I make it hard for myself for sure to be receptive to that. And then also on the flip side, I kind of think like, who am I to say that God can't do that even for me? Right?
Yeah.
It's like at
Hmm.
that point, it's like a pride thing where it's like, I don't think God can do that for me because I see him doing it for everybody else but me. And
Yeah.
it's like, or maybe I'm looking at people and I'm thinking that those things came from God when really they didn't,
Yeah. The
right?
the the enemy will bless. I use that word very loosely, but the enemy will bless as well too, and people think that it's like, oh my gosh, look, God bless me with all this money. It's like, okay,
Yeah, the world doesn't make things hard for people that are already its own, right? And
yeah, the enemy, yeah,
that's
go
why
ahead.
we're so like I guess prosecuted every time it comes to being a Christian and identifying as a Christian is because you see like, oh, the person that is absolutely not walking in the Lord's like on the Lord's path and everything. You see that person like life is very comfortable. They're living it on easy mode and they're always posting that they're living it on easy mode and everything like that. But in all actuality,
Hmm.
it's because, like I said before, the world hated Christ first. And so when you identify yourself with Christ, obviously the world is going to treat you the same.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
expecting anything different is kind of like the definition of insanity, right? Just doing the
Yeah.
same thing over and over and over
Right.
again, expecting a different result.
Right. It's like I put this post up on my clothing page the other day. I think I put it on my clothing one.
Hmm.
And it was something to the effect of, you know, when it comes to Santa Claus, which we all know is not true, which, is not real. right?
Hmm.
Nobody, nobody bats an eye in trying to prove that he's not real. Nobody gets angry. Nobody gets butthurt. Even if a kid is like, yeah, Santa Claus is real, it's like, nope, like he's gonna find out. But it's like the minute it comes to Christ and God, all of a sudden, like people are working like 9 to 5 to disprove that God exists. And it's like, if it's true that he doesn't exist, like there's no reason to try to constantly disprove God. Like why are we working so hard to disprove something if it's not real? But it's like there has to be, even in the non-believer, there has to be enough evidence that he is real. There has to be enough evidence to prove that he is real for you to sit there and try to disprove that he isn't. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no. People wouldn't try so hard to disprove something if there wasn't the small notion that it could absolutely be true, right? Or else there would be no reason to work as hard, like you said. But I think a lot of, you know what? I think a lot of times in that sense, I think that the people that work so hard to disprove that are these same people that have been hurt by religion. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times people try so hard to disprove of something because it affected them so deeply and not in a
Hmm.
good way that they're
For
like,
sure.
there's no way that this could possibly be true because if God is so good, why did this experience happen to me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hmm.
And so that's always the
For
question
sure.
is if God is so good, if God is so loving, if God is so graceful, then why are these things allowed to happen on our earth?
Hmm.
And I honestly, I keep coming back to the fact that without these things happening, we would have no need for, like, if these things didn't happen, we would have no need
Yeah.
for God. We would have no need to rely on Him. We
Yeah.
would
Oh,
have
100%.
literally no need to rely on anybody but ourselves if nothing bad ever happened.
Yeah. If
And
everything was
also,
sunshine and rainbows, then
yeah, that's not a very realistic world either. I mean, that's why we have free will. That's why we were
that's
pushed
where I
out
was
of the
gonna go.
Garden of Eden. Like there's a reason for this madness. Do we want
Hmm.
this madness? No, absolutely not. Most people would prefer that it didn't happen, but is it
Right.
absolutely necessary to show that God's mercy, even when everything else is just so incredibly distasteful and disruptive and everything that he is still he still walks among us.
Yeah.
Like we would, and also I like to think of, at least in my own personal relationship with Christ, I put on like I think of it as in I am a military kid. I have constantly had to be a source of strength for myself for a really long time. I mean, I rely on my family, my close interconnecting group of friends, and
Hmm.
people part of my circle, but a lot of times I feel like I've had to rely on myself and my own skills and everything. And I feel like there were times when that got so low, when that level of strength was so low and I was so in the gutter, that I treat
Hmm.
my relationship with Christ as like that extra reserve of strength.
Yeah.
So like it's basically like I pull from my inventory, like that extra
Yeah.
oomph, right? That you need to
Hmm.
keep going, that drive. And so that's kind of way that I see it, at least in my own personal relationship with Christ. But I
Hmm.
mean, obviously it looks very different for every other person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I look at the things that happen in life, um, as a result of, I look at it. Well, I mean, so like like storms, hurricanes, all of those things. I mean, those are just natural things. But I also look at them because it's like there's God's will, and then there's things that God allows, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I look at like hurricanes and stuff like that. Like I look at those as opportunities for people to come together and love one another and just be there for each other. Yes, they're
Hmm.
they're very tragic, and I would never wish any of that stuff on the people that have experienced stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I also look at it as, again, opportunities for people to come together. Now, when you look at, some of the things that people do, again, it comes down to that free will. It you know if God forced us to love him, like, well, that's not love. So like there has to be this level of free will where it's like, yeah, like if I stop everything, then it limits that free will. It
Mhm.
limits that choice. And what God wants for us is to choose him. But because we're people and we're wretched people, we don't always make the best choices. But even in those poor choices, there is hope of an opportunity to recognize that poor choice and to turn around and be like, I made a really bad choice. I need God. Like that's the hope, right? And being like, Lord, like forgive me, like I made this mistake, like I want to, you know, fix my life. But yeah, it's like if there isn't that free choice and what God wills and what God allows, and again, the things that the things that God allows isn't always in His will, but He'll allow it because then maybe it's an opportunity for us to prove our faith as well too. Like we're tested and tried through those things. It's like again, if you're not tested, how do you know if it's real? Like again, like you said earlier, like if everything is sunshine and rainbows, then there's no need for God. If I'm not tried and tested, then how do we measure in a sense, since you can really like measure it, but like how can you
Mhm.
measure that I'm faithful to God if there's no opportunities to see if that's even going to work. Like, yeah, I can be faithful to God when my job is good, my marriage is good, the youth center is going great. I'm into the word. I'm going to church. Sunday service is amazing. Bible
Mhm.
studies are great. All the things. My knees aren't hurting today. Like all the things. But then, you know, you start throwing wrenches into that. Are we still going to be faithful? Are we still going
Mhm.
to be praising God even through the difficult times? And that's where those kind of tests and trials come in. And so it's like, yeah, we need those because we got, it's just, I mean, it enhances our faith too. Cause like you go through it and then you're like, man, that really sucked. But you know what? God was there with me and he got me through it because I leaned on God. And now I'm through it. Things are cool. And now like we're just moving forward.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. I mean, as somebody that is a college student that is constantly, for some odd reason, on God's Strongest Warriors list, constantly every semester going
2026.
through it, the big 2026, constantly going through it, constantly, it's back to back to back trials and
Who
tribulations.
signed me up for the war?
Seriously, I feel like I'm like, wow, I'm like, I need to retire. I don't know. Because I just, it's funny. But
Yeah.
knowing, like, learning how to rely on God in those instances as well, the good and the bad, has taught me that when I come out of those episodes, that my strength
Hmm.
is so much stronger because it's like, okay, I did not rely on myself this time around, and
Hmm.
things tended to clear up a lot quicker. I
Yeah,
mean, things tended to be a lot easier to manage. Solutions that
for sure.
originally would have taken me days to find and figure out on my own came instantaneously. I mean, like I told you about that thing with that friend, with the
Yeah.
praying the prayer removal, and then within 24 hours later, I was like, lo and behold, problem is solved. So,
Right.
mm,
Right.
learning
Um.
how to do all of
Yeah.
that as a college kid has also been hard as well because you're thrown into this brand new environment and everyone kind of just expects you to flourish on your own, and
Hmm.
it's kind of, you're kind of ridiculed sometimes for asking questions. They say that they're like, no, come to us if you need anything, or we're always here to help you out, and yada yada yada, and then you're in with your peers, and it's like I was in physics, and even this is like a simple thing, but like I'll be in physics or something like that, and I ask a
Hmm.
guy next to me, and I'm like, hey, do you understand what's going on? They're like, you don't know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Peasant.
I'm like,
How do
oh,
you not
I'm just,
know?
no, 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 I was like, no, that's okay, just vote. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
So, so it's things like that, but then learning how to take that and then turn around and go to God and say, hey, I no longer
Hmm.
want to deal with this, or hey, I've been struggling with this for a lot longer than I probably should have. Feeling a lot like the 40 years in the desert. I'm like, okay, I definitely could
Yeah.
have gotten over this by now. And so giving
Right.
that to him in college has definitely been just as hard. So, Yeah, that
for
and
sure.
also a thing I wanted to touch on also is that a big part of especially as a college student, as a young adult, what you put in to your body, your stimulus, everything, when it's not
Hmm.
centered around Christ, is a gateway, right? So the music you
For
listen
sure.
to, the clothes
Yep.
that you wear, the things that you represent, the clubs you're a part of, the people you interact with, all of the things that you do, your socialization, your how you develop as a human being,
Hmm.
all of it, when it's not centered on the right things, can make that process so much harder.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
like if I'm like wanting to be receptive to the word, why am I constantly listening to rap music?
Yeah.
That's not a, I mean, religious rap, great genre by the way,
Yeah. 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 Facts.
fantastic genre. But I, in terms of like secular music and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I I noticed a lot like when I listen to music like that, it makes me feel a different way. It makes me it I feel like it almost purposefully like makes my mind like really confused. And so like I'll turn it on
Hmm.
hoping like, oh, it's a good song in this good song that I really really love. And then there was a time period when I was just like strictly listening to worship music and my
Hmm.
brain was calmer and I was talking to people with nicer words and I felt a lot better every time I woke up and I would start off my day listening to some Forrest Frank or something like that.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
it was just it and my brain was quiet. And then when I started listening to my secular music again, I immediately noticed the difference. Like, wow,
Yeah.
like the message is so different and the way I feel about life is so different when I listen to that kind of music. And so I was just like, it was just kind of eye opening. That and then like the clothes that you wear, are the clothes that you are wearing, are they representative of who you are as a person? If you're not generally somebody that dresses like, modestly, like, is that something you're wearing? Or, things like that. Like
Yep. Yep.
what
Yep.
you're wearing, what it says on it, that represents you as a person. I mean, a lot of people, obviously college kids don't care. They go out in their sweatpants and their PJs and whatever and they
Yeah.
move on. But I think a lot of times like at least on like the weekends and stuff like that, like when students go out and stuff like that, it's like a lot of times people aren't really comfortable with what they're wearing and stuff like that, like themselves. Like nobody wants to go out wearing like as little clothing as possible unless that's something that you want to do. But
Right.
so even things like that, and also recognizing as a college student like the things that are not for me, I have to be okay with watching other people do those things.
Yeah.
Right? That's a
Hmm.
big part of that too, is like i
Yeah.
can't i can't have my cake and eat it too.
Yeah. 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 It happens a lot with me when it comes to like shows in me making music, especially with my transition into kind of getting focusing. I mean, not that my music was like bad, right? But transitioning into more of a more focused Christian hip hop style,
Hmm.
and like just being more mindful of the places that I perform. I would see, even just colleagues or friends or whatever that were getting these big shows and and all these opportunities, and part of me is like, oh man, like I wish I want that. Like, I want to be able to like go to those places and perform. Like those are places that I've always wanted to perform at.
Hmm.
But it's like I have to, like you said, like I can't have my cake and eat it too, in the sense of like those aren't places that I want to be at anymore. Those
Yeah.
aren't venues. Those aren't, like, I had a friend of mine, and I appreciate what he was trying to do. I don't want to knock that.
Yeah.
So he was trying to get me to go on tour with kind of one of the bigger artists that are from out here, or he's
Right.
from here, but he's like a little bit bigger of an artist.
Hmm.
And like I had like kind of contemplated it or whatever. But I mean, it really came down to just money and time. But I was like really mulling it over, and I was just like, this artist has nothing to do with the music that I'm creating.
Hmm.
So for me to go on tour and then be around his fan base, and then to be talking about Christ, talking about my experiences, and trying to kind of preach the word of God, I was like, it's not going to be very receptive. Like, yeah, could that be a place that maybe God wants me to go? Because obviously, you can't always preach to people that know the word. Like we're supposed to go out and create disciples and
Yes.
all that. But
Hmm.
I was just like, I just didn't. I felt it in my heart of hearts, like wasn't gonna be. It just wasn't gonna be a good choice because again, it's just not the fan base. It's not gonna be received. Those kind of things. It's just I was just like, yeah, I can't. It would be great. Yeah, it would be probably amazing, but I'm just gonna have to pass on this one
Yeah.
for that.
Mhm.
And then like the music, I think it took me a minute to get rid of. I mean, I had a bunch of playlists on my phone from like hip hop, sad music, party music,
Yeah.
um, country
You had
music. You
your
know,
clubbing in the
all the different
2000s music.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all the feels, the throwbacks. You know, high school years, all the things, right? And I
Mhm.
eventually, at one point, I was just like, I forget what I heard, and I was just like, all right, like I just went through just delete, 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 delete,
Wow.
delete,
Yeah.
and so on my phone, well, on my laptop right here, I have. You may not know what this is, but back in my day, um, we would download music from like LimeWire and all these different like illegal streaming services that you probably
Yeah,
shouldn't have subscribed
my
your CD.
dad, that is his thing.
Yeah,
That is his forte.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Burn CDs, all the things, right? So I have all that music still on my laptop, right? So when I plug my phone into my car, the first thing that'll play will be those songs because for some reason it doesn't just go to the playlist, which I want to
Yeah.
figure out how to do that.
Mhm.
But anyways, so like there have been moments where I'm like, huh, let me just like hit shuffle and just like kind of listen back to all the music that I used to listen to, used to love, cherish, like just vibe to for days.
Mhm.
And I'm listening to it and like I probably don't even get like 10, maybe 20, maybe 30, definitely barely get to the chorus. And I'm just like, yeah, like next song. Like
Yeah,
it
you
just
can't even
doesn't.
vibe with it anymore because you found something that replaced it that was so much better, so much way more rewarding. Like I did the same thing. I had some like
Mhm.
core rap songs that I genuinely love blasting when I'm at the gym and stuff like that. And I would turn it on and I would listen to like halfway through and I was like, yeah, I like no, I like don't care. And then I'll go
Yeah.
next. And then I'm trying to listen through the second one and I'm like, wow, no. And then I find
Mhm.
myself going through the whole playlist and then I'm like, oh
Yeah.
wow. Wow. And so me and Avery, it was funny, we made a Spotify playlist, a joint playlist together, and
Nice.
it's called Christian Bangers, and it's got both like Christian music, but it also has like some old songs where it's like she's so funny. She put like Michael Jackson, she put Phil Collins, she put Bridget
Oh
Mendler, she
boy.
put a lot of the ones from Disney movies and stuff in there.
Yeah.
And
Like the
so we
safe
have like a
songs.
good combo. Yeah, we have a good
Yeah.
combination going where like all the songs are just they're either like love songs or they're like slow or they're like really upbeat Christian songs or they're Phil
Mhm.
Wickham or it's like,
Yeah.
it's a good mix and I think a lot of times I find myself gravitating more towards that playlist than I do my other playlists and I think it's a good thing. I think honestly it helps center my mind a lot better, especially first
Yeah,
thing in the
for
morning.
sure.
Like first thing in the morning, what are you doing? Are you like one
Yeah.
thing too, I definitely try and I'm trying to be better about it, but myself, but like a friend recently, he went through a breakup and he told me his whole schedule and how it used to the schedule that used to incorporate his girlfriend and I looked at his schedule and I was like, okay, you would wake up and you would immediately text her and now you don't do that. How about you wake up and you just say a super quick prayer about thanking God, thank him for, allowing you to get up and then
Yeah.
moving on with your day. Like just making those I'm going to use it like the influencer, a clean swap where it's like you're swipping. Hello, you're switching something out in replace for something better,
Amen.
right? Something
Yeah,
that is
for
more
sure.
tuned to your life in the direction that you want it to go. And so I've
Hmm.
definitely had to learn how to be better about that. Also, I do have to go in like 3 minutes, only because my family is currently eating dinner upstairs.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I mean, in that, making those shifts, making those changes is something I just preached on too. And I mean, I'm. It's always one of those things you preach on it, but like it's got to speak to you first too. And it's
Hmm.
like changing that routine. It's like, and originally that prayer could start with just being 3 minutes. Like, God, just thank you for waking me up today.
Hmm.
Just like appreciate you. Like, let me just like be on my mind, like your presence, and then all right, peace out, right? But like that's where you start, and then eventually like you start just like learning to like incorporate different things. Like you go through the model prayer, and then you're like, okay, like let me praise you first. Let me, you know, ask for your will throughout my life, all the different things. And then you're praying for, you start praying for people, then you're praying for yourself last, you're asking for forgiveness, like, and then all of a sudden your schedule is now, it's like you're 30 minutes in, you're doing hour long prayers. I never thought I could ever do an hour long prayer, which is crazy. But when you really take your time and just think about all the things that God is, that is happening in your life, and then just all the things that God has done for you, and just all your petitions, like an hour will go by very quickly. But
Super
it
fast. Yeah. I
it's
have
just making
learned,
those changes.
yeah, I this year I've made it a, I'm making it for Lent at least, I'm making it a like a purposeful intention to be more intentional about my words. So when I say like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'm gonna pray for you," I've been praying for you, actually doing that. And
Yeah.
also when I
100%.
say, yeah, I think that's one of my toxic traits is
100%.
saying, I am going to pray for you, and then
Hmm.
instantly the world and everything that comes with it just sweeps me off my feet, and I find myself not
100%.
making time for that. That, and then also if I mean something and I don't say something that I mean, learning how to just not say that thing at all, and all those things that comes with it, because your words and the things that you say and and how you say it and your tone and your attitude and everything, that is an amalgamation of who you are as a person. And so when you're not being intentional about it, it shows people the kind of person you are, and you do not, while it is sometimes for me reflected in an insecurity that people are going to see me the wrong way and perceive me the wrong way, I know fully well I'm learning to see it as, no, God would want me to be intentional with my words and not be,
Hmm.
just just kind of like saying things to say
Willy nilly.
things, and meaning
For
things
sure.
that I don't mean and everything. So
Hmm.
I'm just, this year has been a key focus of mine has been intentionality. Also focusing on me and myself and and then my relationship with Christ, because I spent so
Amen.
long not doing that, that I definitely need to start giving myself back some time in that love that I gave to
Yeah,
situations
yeah,
and
yeah.
people and places and things that were not leading me back towards him.
For sure.
Yeah.
Final response, and then we'll wrap because I know I
Yeah.
want you to get some food.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks.
I had it and I lost it. I had it and I lost it. Um, yeah, speak life, not death, because it's a double-edged sword.
Mm,
And then two, let your yes be yes and let your no be no.
yeah. And that's been a huge one for me, is being very, like, when I say yes, I mean it. And when I say no, that means I also mean it.
Hmm.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
But thank you so much. I appreciate it. I would love to
Thank
do this
you.
again too. I would really
Yeah,
love to
let's.
do
I'm
this again.
down.
I really like this.
I'm down.
I really like this. I
I'll make
try
sure I
and
have better
watch as many as
Wi-Fi.
possible. Yes, 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 yes. Tell me if you get those things set up. Tell me if you get
I
the little
will.
things set up,
I'm
and
ordering
let
it.
me
I'm ordering
know.
it right now.
Okay, good. Let me know if your availability for the next podcast that you'd like me to be on, okay?
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
All right. Take it easy, Justin. I'm
All
gonna
right.
go eat some ribs.
You too. We'll see you
Love you,
later.
man. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Meow. It's being
You
weird.
should be able to close it out.
Oh, okay. Bye.
See ya. Oh man, wonderful, 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 wonderful episode. I just want to say thank you, peace, and God bless to everybody that has been tuning into this amazing conversation. Thank you for hanging out with us through the technical difficulties. Um, again, I just want to say peace and God bless. If you take anything from this conversation, just know that Jesus loves you. Know that God just wants a relationship with you. He is there for you. He has sacrificed his son for you. But I want you, like I say at almost every single episode, I want you to seek him out and discover him for yourself. Don't just hear my words. I want you to take time and learn about him yourself. Learn about him yourself in your own way. Keep it doctrinal, listen and follow the word, but um, do it in your own pace. One thing that Jade had mentioned was, kind of the relatability of being able to speak about God to other people, and that is so important, and something that Paul says in Scripture of, if I have to represent this people, I will represent these people in order to make those connections, so that they can understand who Christ is. So that's what I mean when I say just kind of discover it in your own ways. Surround yourself with people that you can ask questions to, but make that decision for yourself. Don't allow people to force you into that. Allow them to help guide you and explain it, but the decision is truly yours. I pray that you choose Christ. I pray that you choose God, but it's got to be your choice, like we said earlier, in free will, and God just wants us to choose him. So my prayer to you, my prayer for you, is that you choose God. Again, this is the Right Mind podcast. I do, before I wrap, I want to say thank you to my guest Jade. Miss her so much. um Again, just love the conversation that we just had. I want to shout out the team. I want to shout out Crispy. I want to shout out Life. I appreciate you guys so much. But until next time, my name is Jay Faith, and this is the Right Mind Podcast. We'll catch y'all next time. What's up?